ICE agents helped a man in Minnesota who was stranded jumpstart his car in frigid cold weather. Bet the mainstream media won't report on this one. Is this... Are we being serious right now? Hypothermia is a thing. They could have saved this man's life. Okay, both sides news has lost the plot. What do we do? Out of all the things to talk about today, federal agents killed a man in cold blood this weekend, and you're acting like all is well now because they jump-started a car? This is like your girlfriend cheating on you and killing your little brother and then sending you a tulip in the mail from jail? Like, I don't care. Okay, look, this is my very point. You and the mainstream media lump ICE into one big singular evil entity. Every time one agent does wrong, it's nonstop coverage, wall-to-wall, makes them all look evil. And every time they do right or when they're assaulted, we don't report on it. A Border Patrol agent killed someone this weekend. It's horrible. Let's investigate. But also, this weekend, an agent had his finger bit off, and assaults against them are up 1,300%. Their hotel was destroyed last night. Meanwhile, day to day, they're jump-starting cars and arresting some of the most violent murderers and rapists in our country. I can't believe we have to have this conversation right now. The reason we lump ICE into one big entity is because they are one big entity, and the Trump administration has funded this entity to be the largest law enforcement agency in the history of our country, larger than many other countries' militaries. They have shortened training times, reduced standards, deceptively changed internal policies, allowing forcible entry into homes without a judicial warrant. They wear masks and racially profiled. They're after quotas, not criminals. They've reduced accountability, and now they've killed 2 American citizens in recent weeks. So I'm sorry, I don't give a damn about one car jump started. You know why they were masked? JD Vance shared a story in Minneapolis where agents were eating dinner at a restaurant. They got doxxed and their location revealed and mobbed and stuck in the restaurant. Local police didn't come, so they had to wait for other federal agents. They were masked because they don't want that happening at their homes where their children are. Maybe argue policy with me and stop the demonization of individual agents who beneath the masks are fellow Americans doing their job. Well, Minneapolis has 600 police officers and y'all search 3,000 federal agents there, so it doesn't take an Einstein to see local police do not have the resources to act as agents, secret service, and they're just doing their job. Now, I'm totally against violence against these agents, but you realize they're just doing their job. Argument has been used across history to justify horrors. That shit didn't stand at Nuremberg. Oh my lord, and this is the type of rhetoric that justifies people assaulting ICE agents. If you really want to make this about ICE as an entity and changing some of its internal policies, let's discuss that, not using historical horrors to rile up our population. How about you stop using BS examples of a car being jumped to smoke screen? What's happening? All right, you stop, I stop, ready to go. How about we just fight for some real changes? Trump and Tim Walz are talking now. It's about time.
And all right, guys, and that's where we're at with that. And we are live. Yo, this is Set with Set Media, guys, and I'm back with another one. All right, guys, we're about to get into Trump engagement with the press and then a media analysis, of course, of the Minnesota shooting and more. Let's get right into it, guys. Let's not forget to double tap that screen and like the video, guys.
I had a great conversation with the highly respected president of Syria and all of the things having to do with Syria and that area working out very, very well. So we're very happy about it. Tom Homan, as you know, is in Minnesota now. He's meeting with the governor and he's meeting with the mayor, I think, later. And I hear that's all going very well also. I'm going to Iowa. Some of you are coming with me, but I'm going to Iowa. And
if you wonder why Trump mentioned Syria, yeah, there has been a civil war going on in Syria. If you haven't known, now you know. But it seems like the side that we're backing has made like pretty much great gains in that civil war, and it looks like they're close to victory. So yes, this is why Trump mentioned Syria, because, well, we're backing these guys and they're winning.
What can I say? The economy is good. It's all good. Prices are coming way down, and we have a lot of very positive news.
Do you believe that Alex Cutty's death was justified?
Well, you know, we're doing a big investigation. I want to see the investigation. I'm going to be watching over it. I want a very honorable and honest investigation. I have to see it myself.
Yeah, and that's what everybody on both sides hoping for. I remember the debate last night was mainly, one of the high points of it was, will this be a fair investigation? It's not fair that's being left up to the feds, or it wouldn't be fair if it would be left up to the state. But as we looked into it, we found out that this will be the attorney general handling this, which is a more of like an independent, unbiased investigation. And these are the guys who investigate these police shootings. So this is all under investigation, and we'll see as more evidence comes out. The body cams is yet to be retrieved, so once we get that, a lot will be revealed.
Christy Noem's going to step down.
No.
The president of Venezuela said that he is not taking orders from you. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I don't know exactly what's going on there, but I haven't heard that at all. No, we have a very good relationship.
What about
I'd like to see interest rates go down. Everything else is going down. We have the energy and fuel going down. We have gasoline in many states now at $1.99. Groceries are going down. We inherited a mess with very, very high prices, very, very high prices. And I will tell you, we've made a lot of progress. So we have the groceries going down. We have the energy going down. We have gasoline going down at a record clip. And that's what I want to do. We're doing well. Well, I'm looking at that whole situation. I love everybody. I love all of our people. I love his family. And it's a very sad situation. Yeah, please. I have, yeah. I think she's doing a very good job. The border is totally secure. You know, you forget. We had a border that I inherited where millions of people were coming through. Now we have a border where no one is coming through. They come into our country only legally. So you have to remember those things. You know, people forget as soon as you accomplish something, it goes into history and nobody ever wants to talk about it. We had a border that caused all of this problem. Biden caused, and the Democrats caused this problem. They allowed tens of millions of people to come in. Many of them.
And it is crazy how the Dems are complaining about, well, how Trump is cleaning up this immigration problem that they left for him. And I remember they were complaining. They had the audacity to tell us, oh, it was going to cost like $88 billion to remove all these illegals. And I'm like, yeah, thank you for telling us you created an $88 billion problem. It's still got to get fixed, but thank you for telling us the number. Might be actually more than that.
Murderers, many were drug dealers, drug addicts, people from mental institutions. They allowed these people to violate our country, to come into our country. And that's what we're talking about. So if you remember, we had a horrible border, the worst border we've ever had, ever in history. People were flowing through by, we think, 25 million people, not to mention drugs and everything else. And that border is absolutely closed. So well, prices are coming down. The border is really strong. You know, if you remember, I probably got elected more than anything else on the border. We had a border that was open with 25 million people coming through with an open border policy, which was insane. And that's the policy that caused the problem that we have. With all of that being said, other than, I would say, just to put it accurately, Minnesota, and in particular Minneapolis, because it's not all of Minnesota, every city that we've gone to has been.
Hey, yo, shout out to Monty for starting us off on Rumble for the $5. He says a rant read out loud as requested. Hey, man, shout out to my man Monty. Appreciate that. Oh, guys, and you can also head over to Rumble to also support the channel as well, trying to build the community over there.
Like literally, crime has gone down 50, 60, 70, 80. In Washington, it's gone down. There's practically no crime. You know, Washington is a great example, but you take a look at other cities, Memphis, Tennessee, the crime is down 78%. And you know where else it's down? It's down in Minnesota. It's down in Minneapolis. And it's down very much because of the fact that we're there. So we can't lose sight of the fact that we have to take murderers and drug lords and people from mental institutions that were dumped into our country through open borders of the Democrats, of Biden. And we're doing a great job. The other thing is Tom Homan is there right.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, it is kind of crazy how the Dems are not only created this problem, but then they're also creating a problem in Minnesota, but not providing crowd control. And then, of course, oh, there's not enough police. Great. Send in the National Guard. I mean, let's be honest. The way Tim Walz is running Minnesota right now is pathetic. And he's getting his own constituents hurt. And their tax dollars for scammed.
Now he's with the governor and he's with the mayor. And I hear things are going very nice. Your meeting with President American slave. We're looking at some very good things happening on Ukraine and Russia. Very good things are happening on Ukraine. On the border, Mr. President, where do we stand on Gaza, Mr. President? Many Gaza is going very well. As you know, we've got the last hostage on the body of the hostage. A lot of people thought that was impossible to do that. All of the hostages got both living and dead. And I can tell you, your parents are really appreciative. What about the escort
All right, now we're gonna move on from this video because as he moves away, the sound gets worse and worse. I ain't gonna put y'all through that. But all right, now let's go ahead and get over to the next video. All right, it's gonna start on the right side of media.
Tim Walz finally picked up the phone. He spoke to President Trump. Governor Tim Walz called me with the request to work together with respect to Minnesota. It was a very good call, and we actually seem to be on a similar wavelength. Walz, a lame duck, under investigation over Somali fraud and under intense pressure from the Minnesota business community. He can't afford to have George Floyd-style riots again. The president hopes he and Walz can work together.
It is President Trump's hope and wish and demand for the resistance and chaos to end today. That's why President Trump spoke with Governor Walz directly this morning, and he has outlined a clear and simple path to restoring law and order in Minnesota. We hope Governor Walz will do the right thing.
The president is shaking up personnel, dispatching border czar Tom Homan to Minneapolis and Chief of Border Patrol Greg Bovino, who had been providing backup to ICE, will be going back to the border.
Yeah, because they brought him there to give them backup. But since this situation happened right here, yeah, they're removing him and bringing in Tom Homan. And the guys who also committed, who was also involved in this shooting, yeah, they've been pretty much just relocated, not really put on administrative leave or anything like that, but just relocated. And it does seem like ICE is about to make a tactical retreat to gain some reconnaissance on the ground. So because they got blindsided by this whole ICE watchers and obstruction, they didn't honestly know that it was going to get this bad. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. But what does need to happen is they need to pull back. Tom Homan needs to go in, find a way to work with the locals or the National Guard in that area, talk to the political officials in Minnesota, and then figure out a way to get ICE back in there, because they are going to have to return to where they're not interfered with so much.
The administration is looking for calm and cooperation after a deadly altercation Saturday. ICE was zeroing in on a foreign fugitive from Ecuador, wanted for domestic assault, when anti-ICE agitators pinned agents down in a narrow street. Border Patrol was attempting to remove the mob when a guy with a concealed gun physically confronted Border Patrol and resisted arrest. Viewer warning, this is graphic.
The people! The is wrong with you? Honestly!
Every time I see this. Wait, did I see it?
Are being reviewed. When Alex Preddy approached the agents, he was packing a fully loaded 6-hour 9mm handgun with 2 full mags. He did have a concealed carry permit. Reports say he did not have an ID on him, and we don't know whether he alerted officers that he was carrying, which is what everybody with a concealed carry permit is instructed to do when encountered by law enforcement. Resisting arrest with a loaded gun is incredibly dangerous.
And here's the thing. This isn't the first time our guy Alex got into a situation like this. He actually got into a situation with an ICE officer to where his ribs end up getting broken. So this isn't the first time he's gotten involved with ICE. He has a history of this, sadly.
Video of the shooting shows agents yelling, "Gun, gun, gun," during the struggle. One video is believed to show an agent removing Alex Preddy's weapon before the shooting, but it's still unclear. DHS is investigating whether Alex Preddy's gun may have accidentally discharged. This particular pistol has a history of accidental misfires that may have triggered Border Patrol to defend themselves with deadly force. It's a very loud, violent, and chaotic scene. And these are the types of things that happen, unfortunately and sadly, when you bring a loaded gun to a dangerous immigration raid, confront agents, and resist arrest. We wish it hadn't come to this. Lawyers will be determining whether the shooting was justified, but the Minneapolis police chief doesn't care.
Even if there is an investigation that ultimately proves that at the time of the shooting it was legally justified, I don't think that even matters at this point, because there is so much outrage and concern around what is happening in the city. People have had enough.
Immediately after the
what? I mean, bro, it kind of does. We kind of need to let these guys know, or the protesters know. It's like, yeah, if you do this, I'm gonna be real with you. You're like, your guys are gonna be heartbroken when nothing happens to these officers because it's a legal shot. Like with Renee Good, most likely that's gonna be seen as a legal shot or a lawful shot. I mean, saying with Alex Petty, and be honest with you, especially if his gun accidentally discharged while the officer was taking it away, it will be seen as a lawful shot. Unfortunate, both of them are very unfortunate, but that's where this look like this is going. And honestly, these protesters need to see this, so maybe they have a blueprint of what not to do. You never know. I'm just wishfully thinking at this point.
Anti-ICE activists descended onto the scene and made mayhem. Go. Hey! Some protesters seem to have a death wish. Watch.
The kid, shoot us in the face! Shoot me in the head!
Damn.
Shoot me in the head! You coward!
Bro.
You're coward! I'm right here!
Yo, and shout out to my man Monty, member for 7 months. He says they really aren't gonna like Tom if they think he was bad. Oh man, no facts. Yeah, they're really not gonna like Tom if they think he was bad. Wait until wait until you get the shuddering stunner. All right. This isn't a retreat or a pullback. You're getting the hammer brought down. I mean, damn. He said, well, yeah, I guess you got to bring the hammer back before you bring it down. And that's pretty much what's happening in this situation. A tactical retreat to come back with more pretty much intel on the ground. Because I'm be honest with you, I think I blindsided with this. Like ICE watchers, them following them around, getting entrapped by vehicles, protesters honking and being dedicated. They're dedicated to this. They were blindsided. And they actually do need more resources that, well, the city of Minneapolis is not willing to provide, and neither is the state of Minnesota.
Kill me!
These aren't your run-of-the-mill, mostly peaceful protesters. One of them bit an immigration agent's finger off like a cannibal.
Stuttering here.
And last night broke into the hotel where agents were sleeping.
You see? I mean, you see how the dedication, it's the dedication. Like, bro, it's sub-zero degrees. It's below 0 degrees. And they're outside making noise, trying to make sure they don't get no sleep, yelling to the top of their lungs. At a certain point, I mean, you got to be getting paid for this. It's like, there's just no way. Or they're just that dedicated.
Bruh.
Oh, shit.
The Minneapolis mob is now.
Oh, God, we got 13 of y'all on here, man. Go ahead and double tap that screen for me and let's get those likes up. Appreciate the support, guys.
A Chaz and barricading themselves with dumpsters into no-go zones. The governor, who has not made any effort to chill out his citizens, told them to choose a side like it was the Civil War.
What side do you want to be on?
What?
The side of an all-powerful federal government that can kill, injure, menace, and kidnap its citizens off the streets? Or on the side of a nurse at the VA hospital who died bearing witness to such government? Bruh. Or the side of a mother whose last words were, "I'm not mad at you."
Walz even framed immigration police as Nazis. Listen.
We have got children in Minnesota hiding in their houses, afraid to go outside. Many of us grew up reading that story of Anne Frank. Somebody's going to write that children's story about Minnesota. And there's one person who can end this now.
The Holocaust.
You could end this now. Not Trump. You, Tim Walz. You could bring in the National Guard and stop this now, but you won't. You can immobilize police forces, probably bring in police forces from safer districts to come over there and provide crowd control. You can do this.
Museum told Walz to pipe down and stop exploiting the genocide. Illegal aliens aren't Jews.
Crazy.
The governor needs some accountability. He's been in open rebellion against the federal government for over a month. He's called immigration police Nazis, Gestapo, told his base to get in their face and to kick him out of the state. He's activated a Minnesota insurgency. Agents have been rammed with cars, kicked, punched, spit on, trapped. Their cars have been looted, and ice balls and fireworks have been hurled at their heads. They've stormed into churches and injured and doxxed dozens of officers. This insurgency is more sophisticated than you think, and it relies on a supportive local population.
Definitely does feel organized to me, and I think you can tell these people are well connected. They are in communication with each other, and they are giving them instructions. This happened all so quickly. People knew where to go. They are taking commands. This is an organized movement here. There's communication, there's food, there's notices.
I mean, yeah, you can look this up. What was it? Minnesota's Ice Watchers and Ice Stoppers. Basically the same thing, but here's the problem. They're organized. They got a pamphlet, most likely a Facebook group. It's like these guys are organized. They're doing this with intent to obstruct ICE. And we can't keep calling them peaceful protesters. Not all of them are like this. But there is a select group of them that they are hiding behind the peaceful protesters. They're basically like Antifa.
There's notifications. They got out here in a hurry, and they outnumber this police force probably by about 10 to 1 at this point.
These people are giving aid and comfort to foreign criminals. They're aiding and abetting foreign nationals escaping from justice. They're on encrypted messaging apps, sending each other specific coordinates all day and night. And like jihadists, their leaders don't care if they die. Independent journalist Cam Higbee obtained a video of orders being sent out. Watch this.
The person that just asked for a plate check a minute ago that said 218.
Yeah, it's a white Chevy pickup truck.
Yo.
Thank you. If you can get documentation, video, or photos of that plate on that car, we can document. Thank you.
Moments before Alex Preddy was shot, this underground resistance was calling in for backup, documenting plates and vehicles. Alex Preddy appears to be a member of this Minnesota Ice Watch. The group's mission is to swarm immigration police and prevent them from arresting dangerous Biden migrants, blocking them in with cars and physically interfering in arrests and crowd control. This movement is lethal to the country and also suicidal. You wouldn't do this with FBI agents or marshals or the NYPD. The consequences would be deadly. Renee Good and Alex Preddy would be alive if Minnesota would stop attacking the Trump administration for doing what voters put him in to do.
Yeah.
Nobody in the White House, including President Trump, wants to see people getting hurt or killed in America's streets.
Nobody want to see anybody in America get hurt or killed. I mean, sure, we want to see you libs get grilled for your political ideas, but not killed for it. Like, let's be honest here. Like, we know you guys are against ICE and all this wild stuff, and sure, go ahead, protest. But don't obstruct where you're putting yourself in danger. I mean, don't you got a family? I mean, look at Renee Good. She put herself out there. Now there's kids without their mother that will never see their mother again because of the choices that she made, and also because of the lack of, well, be real with you, authority that Tim Walz could have brought down, but he didn't. Jacob Fry could have brought down, but he didn't. So, I mean, as much as you guys want to sit here and blame ICE, really, it's the leadership. It's the leadership in Minnesota. And you can mainly blame Jacob Fry, which is the mayor of Minneapolis, and the governor of Minnesota, which is Tim Walz. Like, they're mainly to blame here.
Tragedy occurred as a result of a deliberate and hostile resistance by Democrat leaders in Minnesota. Obstructing federal law enforcement and inciting violence against officers is wrong and illegal.
What's happening in Minnesota isn't happening anywhere else. Texas, Florida, Georgia, Arizona, Missouri, they're all cooperating with the feds. Local law enforcement's detaining bad hombres, and the feds are scooping them up and sending them home. Even raids in other states are conducted in coordination with the locals, who provide crowd control and backup and intel. It's just in Minneapolis and a little bit in Portland, Chicago, and LA, where there's violent resistance. All sanctuary cities. But Keith Ellison's saying they're behaving.
Bro.
ICE needs to do its job that it is paid to do. We're asking ICE to do its job as we do ours. Nobody in Minnesota is interfering with them.
That's a lie.
That's a huge lie. I mean, what Renee Good was doing was interfering, especially she was blocking an entire lane, parked sideways, honking her horn in rhythm, by the way. So, yeah, that's interfering. I mean, Alex Preddy, he walked up and basically tried to get involved in the law enforcement scene. That's interfering. I'm sorry, but we got to understand that they're going from peaceful protesters and they're crossing that line into obstruction.
Only Minnesota state prisons hand over criminal aliens, and that's only after they're convicted and serve sentences. City and county jails don't cooperate at all. They're just releasing criminal aliens back out onto the streets, and it forces ICE to do these dangerous manhunts without backup. So they have to bring in Border Patrol for backup. And Border Patrol doesn't usually work cities. Nope. They work deserts.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like they're making, like, it's getting that bad in Minnesota to where they're making them get Border Patrol. It's like if they'd just provide any type of crowd control, like I said, some police, National Guardsmen, this would have never happened. Border Patrol would have never been there. Maybe Alex Preddy would still be alive today. Maybe.
Look at this poll from over the summer. Majority of the country, 65% actually, are against sanctuary cities. 70% of the country says the locals should be cooperating with ICE. This isn't even a partisan issue. Just a small minority who are
But then you watch CNN, they're going to frame it as everybody disagrees with what ICE is doing. Like, no, we disagree with what's going down over there. It's like, why are y'all not cooperating with ICE and trying to get these criminals off the street? And then here's the thing, like, these protesters don't know that, one, y'all are not only protecting the undocumented immigrants who committed no crimes, but you're also protecting the undocumented immigrants that have committed crimes. Some pretty heinous crimes, by the way. Like, you're basically protecting pedophiles right now. So I don't know how you guys want to, reconcile yourselves with that, but, you might want to look in the mirror for a little bit.
Sacrificing lives to keep criminal aliens in their cities. These blue city streets are mobilizing like it's war.
I'm Kyle. I'm Antifa. I understand that the women who see this are really scared that their husbands are going to go and not come back, and that's real. We can't end this without good men in the streets, armed and ready to protect innocent people from being gunned down by these masked murderers, these fascist.
He only got gunned down because he was armed. If he'd have got put to the ground and he had no gun on him, they'd have never shot him. Like, bro, you're literally asking for more. This guy's crazy. You could tell by the gauges and the tattoo, in the face tattoo and all that. Yes. Obviously, this man's insane. And he just admitted that, I'm Antifa. And he's literally telling, women, yes, we need your men to go out there and die for a cause that you will not benefit from. Not whatsoever. No, you won't get no military benefits. No, there's no glory or anything. Your husband will actually be seen as an idiot, to be honest with you. But no, we need him to go out there and sacrifice his life. I know we don't care he has kids. F the kids, man. It's all about going against Donald Trump. F the kids. Apparently that's what they're saying.
Occupiers I need boots on the ground, and I need them prepared to do what needs to be done.
There are hundreds of American citizens, thousands, threatening to kill ICE agents. This is on top of the cartels that have a bounty on their heads. Some of them are acting like kamikazes, like it's suicide by ICE.
Hey, so they're going to kill us anyway, so I think maybe we should just mob them. If you comply...
Wait, what?
They're going to shoot you. If you try to leave, they're going to shoot you. Mob them. Like that.
No, see? This is that radical, like, bro, this is that radical thinking of ICE. It's like, they will not, if you comply with them, they won't shoot you. Actually, no, think about it like this. If Renee Good would have complied, got out the car when she was told to, she would still be alive. I mean, I don't care how left you lean. You got to agree to that. You got to. I mean, you're insane if you don't. If she'd have got out that car, she'd have been alive. But because of the rhetoric that you guys spew about ICE, she probably thought, oh, well, if I comply and I get out, I'm going to be disappeared to a torture dungeon somewhere, according to Tim Walz.
Like full American Revolution, like hiding in trees. I don't know.
Bring this up real quick.
The federal government has sole authority to enforce immigration law all over the country. That's not me saying it. It's the Supreme Court. And these Democrats...
Yeah, and shout out to my man Monty, because he actually super chatted this in. I'm going to go ahead and bring it up on the screen, though, if I can, because I actually tapped it on my phone instead, Monty. But yeah, it's from Homeland Security. So this comes from DHS.gov. Sanctuary politicians' rhetoric fuels more than 1,000. Yeah, 1,000. Damn. I'm sorry, but I didn't expect it to be this much. But bro, really? Really? 1,150% increase in violent attacks against ICE law enforcement. Over 1,000% increase in violent attacks against ICE law enforcement. And then if you actually go to the website, I'm actually glad I didn't bring it up now, because you actually see some pretty gruesome pics of how ICE officers have been attacked. We got one guy who's been cracked in the back of the head. Oh shit, this guy's lip got tore off. I mean, this is crazy. Actually, I might just have to bring it up to make this point.
Democrats are inciting mobs to violently resist the federal government. This is what happened during the Civil War. But it's not even half the country. It's just a small faction of hardcore militants, ICE mommies, BLMers, communists, trans radicals, and Antifa who want open borders, the obliteration of capitalism, and the complete overthrow of the Trump administration. These are the people who cheered when Charlie was shot. They hate white men, cops, and are bent on destroying Western civilization.
For sure.
Unchecked migration destroys civilization. Look at Europe. That continent's on its deathbed. They're using mass migration as a weapon to destroy this country. It's why the left wants to abolish ICE. Once Biden let them invade, they boost the census numbers and give Democrats more electoral votes and congressional seats. Mass deportations take that away. That's why they're literally biting off the fingers of ICE agents to try to stop it. And the more offspring they have, the more votes Democrats get. And the more migrants, the more welfare. And that powers the Democrat nonprofit industry that kicks back cash to the politicians' coffers. We caught them dead to rights in Minneapolis with the Somali fraud ring. Walz and his...
I mean, shout out to Nick Shirley that they're trying to deny up and down. Like, no, that wasn't true. There's no real evidence. Like, we trust what CNN did. Like, bro, when CNN did no real investigation, and neither did, what was it, ABC News, neither did CBS. No real investigation. Actually, I don't even think CBS got involved. But this is the website that Monty sent in under Rumble Rant right here. Yeah. Radical rhetoric by sanctuary politicians lead to an unprecedented 1,300% increase in assaults against ICE officers and a 3,200 increase in vehicular attacks. And you don't think these ICE officers are reading these, like, you know, memos going like, hey, yo, watch out because they're targeting us with vehicles. Hey, yo, watch out. They're throwing stuff at us. Like, they read this too. I hope you know this. They read this too. And I'm pretty sure this, like, highly influences how they move out there in the field. Pretty sure. I mean, it would highly influence me if I was reading this as a nice officer. I'm going like, well, damn. See, basically, as soon as I see somebody radical leftist, or I'm be real, protesters, an aggressive protester, not radical leftist, I'm gonna say an aggressive protester step in a car, I need to be wary of that. I need to worry a little bit. But all right.
This insurgency, they need to cooperate before more people get killed. ICE also has to change tactics. ICE has been in Minneapolis for 6 weeks with barely any backup, and they're way too visible. Folks are crossing state lines to confront them, and now these agitators are coming armed to the teeth. ICE agents are sitting ducks in that city, and like any good boxer knows, you got to stick and move. You can't stand in the middle of the ring forever. All this manpower dedicated to Minneapolis, and we've gotten 3,000 bad hombres out of there in 6 weeks. That's good. 10,000 since last January. That's good. Force a deal with Walls to get cooperation. Force them out with cash if you have to get these known fugitives out cleanly. And then move on to Denver, San Fran, Detroit, wherever you have to go. But don't announce that ICE is coming to town. Be stealthy. You can always go back to Minneapolis when Walls leaves office, which is soon. You can go back there for 3 straight years until every single migrant is out.
Yep.
But we're running the ball down the middle every single play. How about a little play action? Now, if you're going to be dealing with an insurgency like this in Minneapolis, you got to bring in a task force. I'm talking marshals, Treasury, Homeland. You arrest everyone obstructing, and then you follow the money and make arrests. If you have a targeted
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They got to go in there a bit more tactically. Like they got to do it with a bit more finesse. Like they went in there, they got blindsided by what was going on, and due to that, well, yes, there's been some pretty bad things that went down. There's 2 Americans that lost their lives because they was obstructing. So how do we fix that? Well, I mean, the only thing we can do is pull them out for now, figure out what's going on the ground, because like he showed, bro, these guys have a whole little intelligence network on these guys. They didn't see that one coming. I'm gonna be real with you. They didn't see that one coming. They didn't expect them to organize into an intelligence group to track these guys down and dox them. So yeah, they got to pull back. Probably got to come in with some whole new agents that they haven't doxed yet. I mean, they are going to have to ride around now in unmarked cars. Why? Because their license plates are being doxed. I mean, y'all complain about it, but y'all making them do it. Like y'all trying to dox you're trying to find out their face. So you can sit there and harass their family members and all that. I mean, you're making them do this. You can't complain about them being masked up, but you're willing to go out there and harass their family because you can see who they are. It's like, you can't complain about that.
On a city street, you cordon the block off so the mob can't get close and trap and harass.
And shout out to my man Monty. He says there are links in the pages that open up the whole story on each incident. All right, gotcha.
And hurt you.
That's crazy.
It's safer for you and it's safer for them. But the president can't be run out of town. That'll tell every sanctuary city that attacks on ICE agents will force them into retreat. And then you have a confederacy of sanctuary states that are black holes of crime and migrants. And that'll sink the country. And that's what they want. The president looks like he's finessing this and fulfilling the mandate. The president's already achieved record low illegal immigration and record low crime. Minneapolis can't slow him down.
All right, Garrett, we have the rest of that horrifying tape coming up. We'll play it in full. As you can see, Minneapolis, Minnesota is once again back in the news, and for all the wrong reasons. Let me start with this. I'm very pro-life. It is always sad.
But all right, though, let's get over to our guy, Kash Patel, and let's see what he got to say about this.
Open up their task force in the state.
I don't think, Kash Patel is doing too well, but hey, he's still the FBI director, so let's see what he got to say. I know Dan Bongino gone, and he's back to doing podcasting, which I'm not so sure how that's going to work out for him. I mean, I don't know how you're going to come back after no deep state arrest and telling us that, Epstein killed himself. There's nothing else left to see. And then all these Epstein files that came out proved that that was false. So I don't know how he's going to recover from that one, but hey, man, let's see the spin. I'm here for it.
Here with more, FBI Director Kash Patel. Director, thank you. What do we know about this encrypted message group? I know this is not the FBI's investigation. However, When you have well-organized groups like this that are going after law enforcement, I would imagine that will fall under the purview of the FBI.
Yeah, Sean, it's great to be with you. And look, the ongoing investigation involving the shooting last week is being led by DHS. And of course, we're supporting our interagency partners there. The Signal Chat group is information we collect from the public because we repeatedly request the public provide us with information they have. And what we are going to do is what we have been doing across the country under President Trump's leadership to deliver this historic success from year to year. It's not a trust me situation. It's a look at the last year. It's a look at what we did when the FBI opened up their task force in the state of Virginia under President Trump and our great partners at DOJ and the Attorney General. We wiped out crime in the state, and we're going to do that in every single city. We've done it for the whole year. And on this type of specific investigation, what you do, generally speaking, is you send out subpoenas, you collect data, you put people in grand juries, and you find out who broke the law. And if anyone broke the law and incited violence, remember, that's the key here. We are not going after people and infringing on their freedom of speech to peacefully protest. We are definitely not going after people on their Second Amendment right to bear arms. Only if you incite violence and or threaten to do harm to law enforcement officials and break the law in any other way does it become an investigatory matter. So this Signal Chat is something that we, the FBI, are looking at and spearheading.
Yep, because they have a whole Signal Chat. They got Discord conversations where they're just planning on how they're going to dox them, where they're going to meet these ICE agents at, where they're going. Like, it's a whole network that does need to be investigated, and it gotten that bad to where we need the FBI.
Is the FBI also involved in looking into this raid on this church and the FACE Act? And I understand that there's another arrest that happened just prior to the program.
Yeah, Sean, thanks. Just breaking literally right now, another example of what we do at the FBI when we team up with state and local partners and the interagency and President Trump's backing of the blue and the Attorney General of the Department of Justice's prosecutions is this FBI has already arrested the 4 individuals responsible for the vehicle damage just a week ago in Minnesota. Also, during that incident, sensitive information was stolen from that vehicle relating to FBI and federal agents' personal data. People put that information out and threaten the lives of federal agents, wives, and children. Just tonight, we arrested a second individual out in the West Coast for threatening agents by stealing that information. And just a couple of days ago, we had our first arrest on an individual who did the same thing. In between, this FBI led the charge to arrest those involved with violating the FACE Act while impeding unlawfully the rights of people to worship in their houses of worship at the church in Minneapolis. A FACE Act violation is a federal charge. This is what we're talking about. This is what you're talking about, Sean.
Oh, shit. I mean, Don Lemon might actually face charges for his. I mean, I don't even know why he did that. Like, even if it wasn't illegal, respectful. I mean, just going to a church and it's disturbing their whole service just to what? Make a political point, have people yell in their faces. Like, bro, what's wrong with you? And why do you ever think that was right? And now you might be facing charges. I mean, good luck. I hope they hit you with the
FBI, open up! Do not let the media cement a false narrative. Let these investigations run its course. Let us do our job with our interagency and state and local partners, and let's all take a breath and calm down the situation, because when investigations like this are run properly, like we've done under President Trump's leadership, that's the only way you can drop the murder rate 20 points. That's the only way you can have 6 top 10 captures by this FBI in 1 year. And that's the only way we can keep our children safe and do things like arrest 500% more people who are threatening our children online in nihilistic, violent, extremist networks.
Oh, it's
and there's
certainly
so
not
much
helpful.
more.
When you use Nazi analogies and call ICE agents Gestapo, there's nobody that's been more pro Second Amendment than yours truly. I've had a pistol carry permit in New York City. I've had it in California when I lived there, in Alabama, in Georgia, back when I went to New York, and now in the free state of Florida. But with that comes a big responsibility. I have told people on air, well, Hannity, what gun should I get? I said, the one you're willing to get trained in the safe use of. And I've also told stories that, in situations, if I knew I was on camera and I could get away from a confrontation, knowing that I had the ability to defend myself, I would turn and hightail it and run rather than ever have to pull out a weapon. If you have a weapon, do you belong in an environment that is as contentious as this weekend? Do you bear responsibility knowing that you have a firearm with you, what that could do to a situation?
Well, Sean, like you said, we truly, fully support the Second Amendment, people's right to bear arms. But when you enter into a situation, a volatile situation like Minnesota, where there were riots on the streets and people attacking federal law enforcement officers and ramming them with vehicles and continued criminality and burning down and literally destroying federal vehicles and stealing information, we have to ask people what's prudential, what's smart. And it's not smart to go out there with a fully loaded weapon. We're just saying, be careful and be reasonable, like you've outlined. If you have a right to a permit for a firearm, that's okay. But you cannot incite violence and you cannot break the law and attack federal law enforcement officers.
I don't speed anymore, but when I did, and I got pulled over once or twice, and I had a firearm on me, a loaded firearm. I put my hands out the window. Officer comes up to the window. First thing I say, officer, I have a pistol carry permit, and I have a loaded weapon in the car. Immediately. Because they never know what they're walking into. They have no idea who is on the other side of a gun or the other side of a confrontation. And I hope people keep that in mind. They deserve to go home to their families also. FBI Director Cash Patel.
I mean, and they're not trying to sit here and say, oh, what you're trying to say, we shouldn't bring a gun to a protest? What, a protest is a gun-free zone? Like, no. They're saying that you should act a little bit more responsibly. If you're carrying a gun, yeah, you should be a little bit more responsible. And you should know better than to honestly approach law enforcement in any aggressive manner with a gun on you. I mean, that's just suicide right there. That's why people are talking about, well, death by cop. Like what were you trying to do? Like, if you know you had a gun on you, you walked up to interfere with a police officer. I mean, man, that is insane. But that's exactly what that man Alex did.
Is changing who's in charge of the ongoing immigration crackdown. So is this a sign that the president is backing down? Today, Border Patrol Commander-at-Large Greg Bavino, he's seen here in this archive video throwing a gas canister at protesters last week. He's going to be leaving town. He's expected to take some of the 3,000 federal agents in the city along with him. The White House.
Oh, and shout out Monty for the Rumble rant on Rumble. He said, feel free to explore any one of these many links. They cover a lot of what you're saying. There's too many to talk about, but damn. Yeah, I know. I was seeing you unload them, and I'm just like, Jesus. Like, there's too many. But yeah, there's so many cases, and all you gotta go is on DHS.gov, and you can look up all these cases of ICE officers pretty much being attacked, assaulted, battered, like having things thrown at them. I mean, what was it? I think somebody threw piss at an officer. Like, come on now.
Says Border Czar Tom Homan will take over the operation. For protesters on the ground, Bavino's exit is only a first step.
Good riddance. Couldn't have came sooner. And but I mean, that doesn't mean everything stops, right? We can't take back what happened before, but we're still living in trauma from Renee and countless other people, right? But now we have this, that he came to our community and caused all this damage. It doesn't just go away because he leaves, and then who comes next and what happens next?
Joining me now in the group chat, Alex Thompson, CNN political analyst and national political reporter at Axios, Audrey Fahlberg, National Review politics reporter, and Chuck Rocha, Democratic strategist and former senior advisor to the Bernie Sanders presidential campaigns.
I mean, probably not a good, I ain't gonna lie, that's probably not a good credential right there. Seeing that Bernie Sanders ain't never really make it like that, but it is what it is.
Alex, can I start with you? Because we got some signals from the White House. The president said he had a conversation with Governor Walz, I believe, that there's some dialogue there. But what do you think made the administration finally rethink how it was talking about the death of Alex Preddy and the ICE tactics overall?
Well, because for the first time in probably at least a decade, the politics of immigration are no longer on Trump's side. He always felt that this was his strongest issue, and every poll showed that was the case. With the increase, and this is not just about Alex Preddy, this is about increasingly over the course of the last year, voters have increasingly soured on the way that Trump has
we have
done
some polling about this. The New York Times Siena poll, how ICE is handling its job. The number I always look at, independents, 70% disapprove. And this was January 12th. So this was even
New York Times. Okay, bro. And I don't even know what this Siena University is at, but New York Times. All right, bro, that makes sense. And let's see here. We're talking about the disapproval, of course, independence 75%, of course, Dems 95%, and then with the GOP approval among what was it 78%, disapproval 20%. To be quite honest, I mean, yeah, there are people on our side that don't really like how ICE is going about it, but they don't really understand this problem either. They're like, yeah, bro, if you actually understand what they're doing to these ICE agents in Minneapolis, you would sit there and approve of what they're doing. This 20%, I'm pretty sure if you showed them everything that Monty's showing me on DHS.gov about all these assaults on ICE officers, a lot of them would be like, okay, they kind of have no choice. But hey, it is what it is.
Before this second shooting.
And they know that, and they sense it. And so Trump is now frantically, you also have a looming government shutdown that will happen, or at least partial government shutdown that could happen as soon as this weekend, unless they can pass some of the DHS bills. And you need Democratic votes to do that. So the Trump administration is now trying to do all these things via executive actions to try to placate some Democrats. But Democrats so far have said they're not going to go along with it.
Now, I had seen the Wall Street Journal editorial board. You had seen other people sort of come out and say, hey, I think this is backfiring. Is the president hearing it? But the thing that stuck out to me was Chris Medell. He's a former candidate for Minnesota governor. I say former because he has just decided to drop out from the race. And to give people some context, this is the guy who apparently was the lawyer representing the ICE agent who shot Renee Good. So think about that. Very high profile, and he thought he was going to then run for office. Instead, he released this statement on Monday.
I support the beginning of Operation Metro Surge, the idea of getting rid of the worst of the worst, and they did some of that. But it has gone so far beyond that goal that it just got to a point where I just literally cannot support that. I can't look my daughters in the eye and say, yeah, I'm doing the right thing by continuing this campaign, by being a member of this effort.
There's political ramifications all across the board here, but there's also real life ramifications. The reason what you're seeing from the White House is because you can say a lot about Donald Trump, and I disagree with a lot of things with Republicans and what they do, but he is politically astute and he understands when poll numbers start sinking around an issue that's very direct. And this is to Alex's point. If you looked at those independent numbers prior to the election,
I'll give him that one. He's like, he's seen the poll numbers dip a little bit, and he's like, all right, maybe I need to make some changes. He's not as stubborn as people like to make him out to be. It's like, well, he's actually pretty flexible, especially if he sees that people, and especially in his own camp, is not approving of what's going on in Minnesota. He's going to make some changes. And that's what he did. He said, all right, then, well, Border Patrol, get up out of there, go back to the border, and we're going to bring in Tom Homan, and we're going to tactically retreat for now with ICE, and we're going to bring them down once we get some reconnaissance on the ground.
Upside down when you asked him if they should be deporting criminals or people that were doing bad things. 70% of independents would have bid for that. But to Alex's point, it's the way that they've implemented that. We're not talking about the border being closed. We're not talking about what we're seeing in the street with American citizens dying, and that's his problem.
Well, I think this is also putting into stark relief of the very real and long existing tensions within the administration about how this deportation strategy is taking place. So we have people like Noam Corey Lewandowski, Stephen Miller, who want deportations up as much as possible for their own sake. Then we have people like Tom Homan, who is seen
for their own sake. I mean, bro, what? I hate how she phrased that. It's like, oh, they want deportations up for their own sake. No, I would like it. It's for my sake. It's honestly for almost every American's sake. Even if you don't like it, it's for your sake as well. It's also for the youth's sake, because really these illegal immigrants hurt the youth. They really hurt the black community. So it's for more than just his sake. It's kind of crazy how she put it like that. Like they're just doing it for themselves. They're just deporting illegal immigrants because they just love to do it oh so much. And I'm just like, no, they're doing it because, well, one, it's the law and it's a necessity. It has to be done.
By Republicans as more of the adult in the room. You know, he's controversial among Democrats, of course.
We heard folks at Fox repeatedly saying, you know who you should send in? Tom Homan.
Right.
And then pretty shortly after Tom Homan was going in.
Proof that the president definitely watches a lot of Fox News.
Yeah.
But he's, you know, proponent of more of this worst first kind of, you know, focusing on illegal aliens with a criminal background. But I think, you know, another thing, there's a tragic, you know, fatal shooting in and of itself. And there's the administration's response to it. And Noam and Stephen Miller accusing Preddy of domestic terrorism was obviously not the right course here.
Well, you saw like this last weekend, it was the Stephen Miller, Kristi Noem response to this, because that is how they responded to every controversy over the last year. And what's so striking is that this is the administration overruling in some ways Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller, which they have not done so far
heard
this
that
term.
there was a meeting with Noem and Trump at the White House,
and Lewandowski,
but not Miller.
On my understanding, I'm not sure. I'm sure he
Yeah.
was somewhat involved. I know that those two were in the meeting.
President Trump says he and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz are, quote, on the same wavelength after a call on Monday. They spoke for the first time since federal immigration agents shot and killed 2 U.S. citizens in Minneapolis. Walz says he told Trump he needs to reduce the number of federal agents in his state, and he said he felt a definite change in tone.
We've laid out the case that we do the right thing. We don't want criminals here, but we also recognize that someone coming here to find a better life should be treated with dignity, that Americans shouldn't be fearing for their lives to go out of their house just because of the...
I mean, bro, it's the rhetoric that you spewed. Like, and of course, Tim Walz has no accountability, but like I said, when you're saying that, oh, ICE is going to take you away to torture dungeons, how do you expect your people to feel about that? And you're their governor saying this. You're not just some random old dude on the street, bro. You're their governor saying this stuff, and you didn't think this was gonna cause some type of hysteria in among your constituents? Like, are you serious?
Color of their skin and the atrocities we're seeing. And I think Donald Trump understands it too.
Group chat is back. I want to talk about this tonal shift for both of them. First, I think for the longest time, I have heard this argument over the last couple of days, especially from conservative and right-wing voices that say basically there was a far left organization that kind of put Freddie in harm's way and turned him into a martyr, that this is all part of a strategy. And can I come to you? Sort of, are you seeing this as well? And is that starting to fall apart under public scrutiny?
I think it is. And I think the important thing to remember here is when a tragic situation like this happens, our government officials are supposed to tone down the temperature, say this is a tragedy, and we're going to investigate the matter. That's not really what we saw from people like Noem and Miller, who again accused.
I mean, hold on now. Like I said, see, they don't ever hold their own side accountable. So what about what Jacob Fry said? What about what Tim Walz has been saying? So, like I said, every time we tell you guys to turn down the rhetoric, it's like you try to flip it back on us as if we were the ones calling ICE Gestapo and Nazis and telling you guys that they're going to carry you way off to a torture dungeon. We weren't saying that. The left was. Y'all was. So please kill us with the whole, I'm sorry, but spare us with the whole, oh, you guys need to turn down the temperature. No, you guys need to turn down the temperature because of the rhetoric that you guys were spewing all day. That's the reason Robert Nagel is no longer here. That's the reason why Alex Petty died. It's your fault. Now, I know y'all not going to reconcile with that, and that's fine, but trust me, anybody who's been paying attention and seen how you guys been talking about ICE can obviously see that, yeah, well, this is what this rhetoric leads to.
Of being a domestic terrorist. I think if he had withdrawn his weapon, he did have a concealed carry permit. If he had withdrawn his weapon and tried to shoot somebody, that would have been a different situation. But that wasn't the case here. He was filming.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He walked up to interfere in a law enforcement scene armed, without letting that officer know. Like, bro, you're supposed to let the officer know beforehand that you have a gun on your person or in your vicinity, like in your car, before they even say, "Oh, yo, you know why I pulled you over?" Like during a pullover situation. So if you're supposed to let a cop know beforehand that you're armed, what makes you think it's okay to just walk up and interfere with a cop and not let him know that you're armed? I mean, here's the thing: if Alex Petty would have walked up and said, "Hey, look, I'm armed. I just want to help this lady up," all right, maybe that'd have been treated differently. But he didn't. He walked up, interfered, armed, not letting the officer know that. Like, you're not even supposed to do that in a traffic stop. Like, really think about that.
A law enforcement operation.
And they sort of stepped on a rake going after his gun rights. It felt like you had some voices saying, the criminal intent is having a gun, and then your own party is then not going to love that.
The pro-Second Amendment party was now saying that, well, just by having a
like
gun.
I said, they're disingenuous. You know damn well if you were getting pulled over by a cop, you had a gun in your car, you're going to tell the officer about that gun. Because if you're engaging with an officer, you kind of got to let them know that you're armed. Like, yes, especially if they're talking to you, they're trying to detaining you, they're pulling you over, and you have a gun on your person, you got to let them know. If you're walking up to an officer, I would think you would have to let them know, yo, I have a gun on me. You just can't walk up and not let them know that. And if they find out and you didn't let them know that, they're going to treat you pretty aggressively, and rightfully so.
Around law enforcement, you are there
Yeah,
flying
no
threat.
common
They also
sense.
completely misrepresented what happened. And if we had not had cell phone video from lots of different angles, they like the government's word would have been perhaps the last word. So by them misrepresenting it, and then we still haven't even seen the body cam footage from many of the officers too, which could actually make this a bigger crisis for the administration.
In a statement, Governor Tim Walz's office, they said the president also agreed to look into reducing the number of federal agents in Minnesota and working with the state in more coordinated fashion on immigration enforcement and regarding violent criminals. There are some people who are going to see that statement and say, look, if Tim Walz had cooperated in the first place, maybe none of this would happen.
I don't think any amount of cooperation would have stopped this administration or the Republicans for trying to get the vision what they want, which is them trying to be tough and quote unquote deporting bad criminals. And absolutely any bad criminal who done something bad should be deported. But this is not what they did. And let's be clear that there's real consequences to what they're saying.
But here's the thing: they got a clear obstruction too, and apparently they didn't see the beforehand video where, yeah, this guy Alex was heavily involved in the protest. Actually, he was in the middle of the street directing traffic, trying to interfere with ICE. Is like, yes, he was filming, but I'm gonna be honest with you, when he stepped in front of that ICE officer to help that lady, yeah, that's interfering with the law enforcement scene. But also, he also got into some other, prior engagements with ICE as well. I mean, you're CNN pretty much saying it.
CNN is learning that Alex Preddy had a physical encounter with federal agents about a week before he was shot and killed by law enforcement. Sources tell CNN that Preddy broke a rib when a group of federal officers tackled him while he was protesting. Priscilla Alvarez is breaking that story for us. What else are you hearing, Priscilla?
Dana, we're learning more details along with my colleague Jeff Winter about what exactly transpired a week before Alex Preddy was shot in Minneapolis and died this past weekend. Now, in this earlier incident, he stopped his car after observing ICE agents chasing what he described as a family on foot and began shouting and blowing his whistle. Preddy later told one of these sources that 5 agents tackled him and one leaned on his back, appearing to leave him with a broken rib. According to this source, and I'm quoting here, that source said, quote, that day he thought he was going to die. Now, Preddy was later given medication that is consistent with treating a broken rib, according to records reviewed by CNN. Sources also say that he was known to federal law enforcement, though it's unclear whether it was this incident or another with federal agents that they knew of him. It's also unclear whether the officers who tackled him on Saturday knew who he was. What we do know, however, is that federal immigration officers have been collecting personal information of protesters and agitators within the context of what the Department of Homeland Security has warned is repeated threats towards officers as they are conducting immigration enforcement operations. In fact, just Tuesday, the department also publicized an online tip form to share information about people allegedly harassing ICE officers. We've also heard Tom Homan, the White House border czar, say that a database would be created for those who are arrested for impeding law enforcement. But thus far, in our queries to the Department of Homeland Security, they have said that no such database exists.
Unbelievable. There's a lot more to peel back there. Thank you so much for bringing us that news, Priscilla.
But yeah, so as you see, he had prior engagements with ICE, cracked a rib. I mean, let's be real. It didn't, as they said, he was part of that signal trap group. It does seem that he was part of that signal chat group that was out there stalking ICE. I mean, it makes sense why he was out there in the first place.
Joining me now is Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. I appreciate you being with us here in the freezing cold. First of all, just the latest developments of, it seems, the reassignment of Mr. Vivino and the bringing in of Tom Homan. What do you make of that?
Well, it sounds like they need to change tempo in their eyes. But I can tell you that Minnesotans have had quite enough of Mr. Vivino. Glad to see him go. And the fact is that this city is outraged, is upset. We 50,000 plus marched in this freezing cold weather, 9 below, just a few days ago. The day before Mr. Petty was shot down and killed, we marched 50,000 strong in the cold. So people are really, really upset. And I think Bovino leaving can only be a good development, and we'll hope for the best. But we're going to continue to press the claim of our state, no matter who's.
I feel
Trump now touting
it's gonna be funny when, like, bro, Tom Homan comes in and he's 10 times more on it than Bovino. Oh man, Bovino. Oh man, that's it's gonna be hilarious seeing this man's face after that. Like, well, I'm glad to get him out, but then Tom Homan comes in and really gets things done and really pisses these guys off. So it's gonna be funny when that happens because they think they got a win here. They think, oh, we got ICE to retreat. Little do they know, no, they're gonna come right back. I mean, if Tom Homan is coming there, what do you think they're just leaving for good? Like, really? No, they're gonna come right back and they're gonna start deporting again.
Meeting between Mayor Fry and Homan, his borders are, and Homan is now taking the lead in Minnesota. Trump's controversial top border patrol official Gregory Bovino is expected to leave Minneapolis within the next 24 hours. And he's taking some of his 2,000 masked and armed border agents with him. CNN is learning administration officials are frustrated with Bovino, who you may remember went before cameras when Alex Preddy was shot. Just within 4 hours of that shooting, in fact, he said this.
This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement.
Whoa.
It was clear.
I'm pretty sure that probably pissed Trump off as well. Like, bro, what the F are you talking about? Like, first off, y'all didn't even know he had the gun until you pretty much put him on the ground. What are you talking about? Like, he came up there to cause maximum damage. If he wanted to do that, he'd have walked up and start shooting the ICE officer just outright. They're straight shooting him and then knowing damn well he's gonna get open fired on the rest of them by the rest of them. So yeah, if he was there to cause maximum damage, I mean, let's be real, this would have been a way more gruesome scene.
That was not true according to the video, which contradicts what Bovino claimed. And Bovino's claims caused massive problems for this administration. Preddy, of course, is a lawful gun owner with a permit to carry, according to Minnesota police, and he wasn't threatening them with it at the time. He was carrying a cell phone, according to the video. And Bovino is not the only one whose standing with Trump is quickly deteriorating because of his handling of this thus far. The White House distancing itself today from Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary's claims that Preddy committed an act of domestic terrorism.
Secretary Noem said Alex Preddy committed an act of domestic terrorism. Stephen Miller labeled Preddy a domestic terrorist. Does the president agree with them?
Look, as I've said, I have not heard the president characterize Mr. Preddy in that way.
And that comes as Republicans are now openly questioning the administration's aggressive tactics and demanding answers.
We certainly should not be labeling him as being a domestic terrorist who is going to execute cops. There's no evidence to support that.
What I think the administration could do better is the tone with which they're describing this.
Yeah.
That immediately when an incident like this happens, they come out guns blazing, that we took out a violent terrorist. Hooray.
So what's the goal right now? Is it to deport every single non-U.S. citizen? I don't think that's what Americans want.
I mean, it's pretty stunning when you hear that, right? It's loud and clear. And we've now got new video, as I said, coming into out front of the incident in Minneapolis that shows the moments leading up to the shooting. And I'm going to speak to the two witnesses who filmed this.
Yeah, so here's the thing. If an ICE officer was already telling you to get back, doesn't that mean, like, and it's kind of crazy how she's showing this, like this is like, you know, helps this guy's case, but doesn't that already show that he was already getting a bit too involved in the scene? Doesn't that show he may have been getting a little bit too close to ICE operations or what they were doing? If he's already getting pushed back, and this is before he got in the way of the woman. So this officer is trying to push this guy, tell him, look, you got to get out this area while we're doing what we do. And yet he comes back. And this woman over here is literally thinking that, oh, well, this kind of proves that the ICE officers are the bad guys here. No, this proves that they're dealing with obstructionists.
with these videos. But first, let's go to Sarah Seidner. She is out front live in Minneapolis. And Sarah, you were there when Alex Priddy was killed. You were there when Minneapolis erupted afterwards. And now, obviously, Bavino leaving real repercussions from him are very significant. But what are protesters telling you?
They are significant from a 35,000-foot view, but on the ground, it's too little too late. They have already killed 2 American citizens and shot another person in less than a month. And people here are like, look, we have asked again and again for ICE to leave this community. Not just the protesters, not just the resident, not just some of the business owners here, but the governor and the mayor. And so
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. The only reason that all this is happening is because the governor and the mayor are refusing to provide crowd control, refusing to bring the National Guard to put these protesters in their place. No, they want the protesters to get involved and get themselves hurt so you guys can come out with stories like this and try to make it seem like the ICE is out there just trying to hurt the citizens, but they're not. The citizens are getting themselves involved and getting themselves hurt.
those who are here, those who are mourning Alex Priddy,
But
the
sad
37-year-old
reality.
ICU nurse who worked at the Veterans Hospital, for them, it is almost.
Oh, and shout out to my man Monty. I was missing some of your super rant, well, rumble rants. But he says Tom Homan needs to wear the medal Obama gave him. Literally. Yeah, he needs to wear that. Yeah, he needs to wear it. And shout out to Monty for sending a link. Let me see if I can go get that pulled up later on. According to the FBI, this is technically domestic terrorism. What they're doing right now, or Alex Priddy? Because what they're doing right now with this whole, organizing and signaling chats and all this good stuff to impede law enforcement. I mean, bro, just borderline insurrection, basically. And yeah, I mean, domestic terrorists, yeah, they're good. Well, let's see here. Man, I hate to say this, but yeah, no, you're right. No, you're right. You're right. Like, especially with those other examples that you've shown where ICE officers got hurt. That's domestic terrorism. The guys who did that, those are domestic terrorists. I mean, I'm gonna be real with you. It ain't really domestic terrorism until they hurt somebody, until they literally go out there and hurt somebody for their political ideology or for how they think. And not all of these guys we can call domestic terrorists. I'm not even really sure we can call Alex Priddy a domestic terrorist, to be honest with you. Because, well, he wasn't going out there trying to hurt the ICE officer for his, political views. I think, honestly, he was just trying to protect that woman. Maybe he forgot that he had a gun on him. It's stupid enough, but he should have known that. He should have been more responsible while doing that. But not say that he should have stepped in there either. But I don't think we could call him a domestic terrorist. But a lot of these other guys who do attack ICE officers, who haven't trapped them and all that good stuff, those are domestic terrorists for sure.
Slap in the face. They want ICE and federal agents out of here. All of them, not some of them, not a few.
Yeah, but who's going to uphold immigration law and get out all these undocumented immigrants? Who's going to get out all these criminals? Not you guys, because you guys are the ones who are letting them stay. And if these people are saying that they want ICE out of there, right, and they don't want to uphold the federal law or immigration laws, then this will be an insurrection. You are going against a government body, going against the federal law of the United States, federal law. You're pretty much saying that you're pushing back and saying that we want the guys who uphold federal law out of here and you're not going to uphold it yourselves. Yeah, that's an insurrection right there. And you're doing it violently too. Like, let's be honest, you're getting violent about it.
Two of them, all of them.
Sources now tell CNN that Border Patrol Commander Bavino and some of his agents are expected to leave Minneapolis tomorrow. Now, this shift in tone from the White House follows 2 days of top Trump administration officials making what can only be called blatant misrepresentations about Saturday's killing of Alex Priddy, a 37-year-old VA ICU nurse from Minneapolis. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said without evidence that Priddy...
Oh, and shout out Monty says, when we hear terrorism, we think bombs, planes, and shootings, but it's more than that. I will say it is inflammatory to say it, but according to the definition, these acts fit it. No, for sure. No, these acts definitely do fit it. Especially, like I said, with the stuff you're showing me with pretty much ICE agents being assaulted and all that. But actually, I'm going to pull this up right here. Here it is. So this is what Monty's talking about. Domestic terrorism, definition, terminology, methodology, all that good stuff. Now, does it provide domestic terrorism for FBI purpose and from the code involving acts of dangerous to human life that are a violation of criminal laws of the United States or of any state appearing or to be intended to intimidate or coerce a civilian population? I mean, okay, that falls in line. Influence the policies of government by intimidation or coercion. Damn, actually, you know what? That is kind of right. Oh, yeah, this one fits right here. Influence the policy of government by intimidation or coercion. So pretty much saying, well, you're not going to uphold immigration law here, and we're going to intimidate you by trying to hurt ICE officers, running them down, pretty much coercion, and they're actually doing it. So it goes from intimidation to coercion. So I'll give you that one. Affect the conduct of a government by mass destruction, assassination, or kidnapping. Hopefully we don't reach that. But no, that's a pretty sound point right there. Go ahead and get back to it.
A gun and committed an act of domestic terrorism. Trump senior advisor Stephen Miller called him an assassin. Bavino said Preddy assaulted law enforcement. False, 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 false.
Whoa. Actually, be real with you. As soon as he put his hand out there and he tried to get in the way of law enforcement, yeah, I mean, real with you, that was assault. Yeah, you can mark that up as assault. But what else did you say, false?
Senior advisor Stephen Miller called him an assassin.
Nope, he wasn't an assassin.
Bavino said Preddy assaulted law enforcement.
I mean, actually, yeah, you can actually make that case.
False, 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 false. Those statements all at best inconsistent with what we can all see on the videos of the shooting, and at worst, egregious lies. Either way, these officials are being called out as such, even by opinion journalists who are normally quite supportive of the administration. The Wall Street Journal and the Free Press editorial boards, even the New York Post editorial board wrote today, quote, Mr. President, the American people didn't vote for.
And shout out Monty, because Monty said he might have learned some lessons. He said, Sid called me out, rightfully so. So I'm coming with receipts on everything. Facts.
These scenes, and you can't continue to order them to not believe their lying eyes, unquote. Even Leavitt wouldn't stand by the Noem and Miller lies today.
Bro.
Secretary Noem said Alex Preddy committed an act of domestic terrorism. Stephen Miller labeled Preddy a domestic terrorist. Does the president agree with them?
Look, as I've said, I have not heard the president characterize Mr. Preddy in that way. However, I have heard the president say he wants to let the facts in the investigation lead itself.
Was he alarmed to hear his top officials referring to him in that way, rushing to that judgment?
Danny, go ahead.
Let's start with CNN's Anderson Cooper, who's in Minneapolis. Anderson, tell us what you're seeing and hearing there today, now that it appears as though the president is sidelining Bavino and sending in border czar Tom Homan.
Yeah, look, I certainly think there's a lot of people who have been out in the streets, a lot of people who have been out at the memorial for Alex Preddy, as we have seen over the last couple of days, who will certainly be relieved to hear about the reassignment or the demotion or whatever one wants to characterize it as of Greg Bavino. There certainly has not been much confidence in his ability to tell the truth or his ability to control any of the agents or many of the agents under his alleged leadership. And I think, so you hear people I've talked to are pleased by that news, unclear exactly what it means to have Tom Homan coming in. Obviously, there's some people who are going to read that as a good development, anything that brings some sort of order and sense of decent policing by some of these agents from Border Patrol or ICE. I mean, we've all seen the images of what happened to Alex Preddy, the tactics that the local.
All right, now let's get over here to this Piers Morgan interview on it. Can't go on. ICE chaos plus Trump NATO slur. Well, I mean, let's get into it.
If I were a Republican, I would be reminded of Dante's Inferno, abandon all hope. You're going to get beat so bad in November, you have no idea.
Well, I mean, damn, that's pretty much what Sid was telling us. He's like, no, keep it up, guys. No, keep it up. Keep up the craze. Keep up this crazy ICE stuff. Keep it up. You're just going to lose in the midterms. I'm just thinking like, you know what, Sid? you would be right if, once again, Dems did not have any real plan besides the F Trump agenda. And I mean, like, one, we can't get no agreements with them on healthcare because we all know they failed on that. I mean, two, they still have no affordability plan for Americans besides raise taxes to fund their social programs, which is going to make things more unaffordable. I mean, that's the problem. So come midterms, I think the Dems, guess what? Y'all going to have to actually have some ideas here because you're not going to be just voted on the F Trump agenda each and every time. Actually, I do think that the people are asking for more from the Democrat Party. And y'all got to accept that at a certain point that, it just can't be F Trump. You actually got to come with some real policies, or to be honest, you might not see that big of a difference in the midterms that y'all hoping for.
They want a violent act, whether it's Renee Good, whether it's this individual. There is a desire.
They don't want to get shot, though, do they?
That guy was not a domestic terrorist. He was a guy who treated veterans.
It's not just left versus right. Let's all shoot each other. I'm pretty sure on this panel, I'm the only one who's actually killed people.
They'll say they sent some troops to Afghanistan or this or that. And they did. They stayed a little off the front lines.
Somebody I'm extremely proud of. That's my younger brother, Jeremy, who was a colonel in the British Army.
We need to hear those words. He is sorry for what he said. He got it wrong. It was ignorant of him to say it.
The president owes Britain and its armed forces an apology.
Oh, wow. I mean, damn, they're offended. Your armed forces an apology. I mean, can you beat us? No? Okay, then. I'm sorry, but we don't care. Sorry, but we don't. I mean, like, I'll be real with you. Can you beat us?
We do not care. Okay,
then. I'll be real with you. Then we do not care. Because, if you've offended our army. I mean, brother, your army can't defend yourselves from immigrants. I mean, sorry, but what's going on with that? I mean, bro, when's the last time I even been in a real war? Like, come on now, bro. Like, is your army really the best army in the world? Is it even top 5? Well, actually, I know y'all intelligence agencies top 5, but come on now, let's talk about y'all army. Like, really, like UK, you're not known for y'all army. We are, but not you guys. Y'all known for being very polite people, and that's a good thing. And, well, terrible immigration policies, and that's a bad thing.
Weeks feel like decades in the current news climate, and that's not just because, as you may have heard, I recently had a rather painful altercation with gravity and a small step, which led to a fracture of my femur and a brand new hip. So here I am with my new bionic hip, reporting from my home, at least for the foreseeable future. But the news doesn't stop, even for my frail torso. The protests in Minneapolis are becoming a demoralizing and deadly crisis for the Trump administration. 37-year-old intensive care nurse Alex Pretty was fatally shot by ICE officers on Saturday. State officials say he was a harmless protester. Federal officials say he was a domestic terrorist. They're two extreme versions of the same reality, just as half the country sees ICE as good, honest law enforcement, delivering on campaign promises, and the other half sees them as the Gestapo. Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem gave this justification for Pretty's death yesterday.
This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at this scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
Really? Having watched the footage, as we've all now done many times from many angles, that sounds like a fairly brazen attempt at rewriting history to suit a preferred narrative. And there's been quite a bit of that going on in the past few days.
No point.
Thousands of miles away from the domestic strife, President Trump spent last week admonishing his allies in Davos. There's no doubt that strong-arming NATO has delivered some good results for the United States, but some of his comments have caused genuine outrage, particularly on this side of the pond. You might even say they were a fairly brazen attempt to rewrite history for a preferred narrative.
I've always said, will they be there if we ever needed them? And that's really the ultimate test. And I'm not sure of that. I know that we would have been there or we would be there, but will they be there? And let's hope that that never happens. We've never needed them. We have never really asked anything of them. They'll say they sent some troops to Afghanistan or this or that. And they did. They stayed a little off the front lines.
As a matter of fact, the only time NATO's ever invoked its most powerful clause, that an attack on one is an attack on all, it was after 9/11. Thousands of British troops were injured and 457 of them died in Afghanistan, where they categorically did not stay a little back. Canada, France, Germany, Denmark, and others all suffered losses there too. Trump has now backpedaled with a gushing statement about British troops, but he hasn't said the one word he hates using most of all, and this time I think he should. The president owes Britain and its armed forces an apology.
I mean, okay, if we're talking about that, then all right, yeah, I agree with you, Pierce. I agree with you, Pierce. Yeah, it is a bit disrespectful to sit there and be like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, y'all hung back on Afghanistan. I mean, if he's talking about you didn't throw as much into the fray as we did, then we wouldn't expect y'all to do that. But all right, I get what he's saying. And if that's the case, he's like, yo, come on, at least respect the soldiers that did lose their lives for, well, basically America. Like, remember, they didn't attack them, they attacked us, and they stepped in for us. The 400, about 1,000 of them, and the 400 of them that died. You know, I mean, we got to respect those lives. Each and every one of them from whatever country they came from.
All of this is Cenk Uygur, the founder and CEO of the Young Turks, Outkick CEO Clay Travis, Rob O'Neill, the former U.S. Navy SEAL, and the legendary Democrat strategist James Carville. So welcome to all of you for my first panel with a new body. New body, new year, new hip, and new resolve not to trip on a 5-inch step in the middle of a London hotel restaurant, whilst, and this is the most shameful part of all, as Rob O'Neill will certainly attest, while being completely sober. But we will move on from my own personal issues. Welcome to all of you. We're going to start with Minneapolis and then move on a little later to NATO and Trump. On Minneapolis, Cenk Uygur, it's been very interesting, the reaction to this second killing. In the first one, a lot of people moved to their partisan lines, and they held their partisan lines. Those lines were reinforced, doubled down, trebled down by President Trump and his administration and J.D. Vance and so on. This time, I'm seeing big cracks, particularly on the MAGA side, on the Trump administration side. They realize, I think, that we've all seen the video.
Yeah.
Right? You can tell us what you want us to believe, but we've all seen the video. Nobody can watch that video and not conclude that this guy was not brandishing his weapon. He wasn't trying to shoot the ICE officers. He was legally allowed to carry his firearm, which was apparently...
I mean, yeah, like I said, everything Pierre's saying is right so far. The problem is, though, is that he walked up to an officer, got involved in a law enforcement scene, and didn't tell them that they was, that he was armed. They had to find out, and that would make things worse.
Attached to his waist. He didn't use that firearm. And now we have the, to me, utterly extraordinary hypocrisy of people who've spent the last 20 years telling me that absolutely an American has a Second Amendment right to take a gun legally to a protest or anywhere they see fit. But now, because it doesn't suit the narrative, suddenly this is a terrible thing to be doing. I don't remember that argument with Kyle Rittenhouse. So to me, as always with these things, I don't take a side, but I do look at hypocrisy when I see it and call it out when I see it. And I'm seeing a bucket load of hypocrisy.
Yeah, there are layers here. So when Trump first started on the issue of immigration, closed the border, and he takes out people who were undocumented criminals. At that point, he's very popular on immigration. So then he goes to do mass deportations. And a lot of the online media, including the independent podcasters, push back. And the country pushes back. It's not popular at all, right? Okay, so that's layer number one. So why are you making an issue that you were popular on now turning into an unpopular issue with you? The reason I bring that up is because I think there is a purpose, and the purpose is not immigration. The purpose is to divide us, to get ICE to go into the middle of these cities, of course, blue cities, and cause trouble. Why do they want to cause trouble? Because they don't want you to notice the great American robbery. We've been robbed by the donors for decade after decade after decade. So what do they need? They need a distraction, and they need us to hate each other. So you send in the shock troops from ICE, they go and do what they do. And as Scaramucci said about the Trump team, the fish rots from the head down. So it's not an accident that they're acting in a lawless way. That's why he put masks on them. That's why he took away their badges, so that they would break the law and they would do outrageous things like this.
No, come on, bro. You know that's wrong, Cenk. You know that's wrong. They put the masks on because without them, they were getting doxxed by people who just did not approve of what ICE was doing. That's not right. I mean, the reason I ride around in unmarked cars is because their cars are even getting doxxed. They're following them around. Like, they're only reacting from what's being done on the ground to them. They're not doing this for no reason. If all this wasn't happening to them, they would be out there with their face out, just like Obama's ICE was able to do. So I'm sorry, but due to the way things are going down on the ground, they have to do this for their safety and their family safety. And I think it's pretty effed up for the Dems just to say, oh, well, throw away your safety because we want to see your face. It's like, bro, you're being ridiculous.
So in the case of Renee Good, the first shot has some debate, although I think...
and Shao Monty said, Link, shoot, not on this one, Monty. I got you on the next live because I'm about to end this one after this video. We got a short one today.
Fact that now we've seen he was about 10 feet away and she was going about 2 miles per hour. But fine, if you want to debate the first shot, just waste your life doing that, okay? But the last two shots, they murdered her. They shot her from the side, and the third shot killed her. Now you go to Alex Preddy, and they called him a domestic terrorist and an assassin who went there to murder law enforcement. Now, guys, look, number one, you can see that's clearly not the case. They're clearly telling them, who cares? Just shoot away. And in the case of Alex Preddy, there's the first 5 shots, which, again, are totally unjustifiable because they already took his gun away. But the second 5 shots after the pause is nothing but murder and execution. But not only are they killing people in the streets in an effort to divide America and get us to hate each other, but on top of that, now you see, without a shadow of a doubt, for all the independents who voted for Trump, and even for the right wing who voted for Trump, you see that his team is a bunch of liars. That guy was not a domestic terrorist. He was a guy who treated veterans, and his last words were, trying to protect that poor woman over there, and that was his last effort. And to call him an assassin, there is no question that they are giant liars, and they're trying to get us to hate each other, and don't buy into it. And yes, finally, the last irony is...
Yeah, I'm be real with you. What Stephen Miller and Chrissy Nome said is deplorable. Even what the chief of the Border Patrol agent said is deplorable. I'm be honest, they shouldn't have said that. They shouldn't have called him domestic terrorist. They shouldn't have called him an assassin. None of that. They should have waited until the investigation was done. They should have just shut the F up. It already looked in their favor already. It already looked crazy enough. For them to sit there and give that type of rhetoric only made things worse. And like Chang said, it did make the administration look like a bunch of liars, honestly. And I don't believe that myself, but due to the way they handled this, I mean, well, let's be honest with ourselves. They did. I mean, I'm not sure if they meant to lie. I'm not sure if they just came misinformed. Maybe the guy that gave them the briefing, gave them some bad information, but what they said was not true.
When we were using our First Amendment rights on the left, a lot of the right
about these individuals. Now, if you want to talk about the protesters in general, what's going down over there and what their goal is, you could probably mark that out. You could mark that along the lines of domestic violence, but these individuals like Renee Good and Alex Preddy, yeah, we can't say they were acting in, like a domestic terrorist, or they were out there to be a domestic terrorist.
Said, well, free speech, we didn't quite mean it. Now, and by the way, when I say that, I mean the extreme right. Most of Trump voters are abandoning him on this issue as well. And now they say, oh, well, now that it involves the Second Amendment rights, maybe we'll pay attention.
Oh, and shout out Tove. Appreciate the 10, Tove. And she says, Cenk is a put. Just like his nephew. Oh, he's a putz just like his nephew. I wonder what does putz mean? Well, I know he's an ass just like Hassan. So I'll give you that one. Shout out Tove, appreciate it. And bro, this guy, stop making excuses for the administration that continues to lie about what's happening on the ground. Bro, here's the thing. Left-wing media also lied about what's going on the ground. They were trying to act like this man was just walking, like he was just getting assaulted by ICE and they just executed him. That's not what happened. He walked up to the ICE officers and not let them know he was armed. Yes, he's allowed to be armed. But I mean, bro, if you get pulled over by the cops and you have a gun in the car, you're supposed to let them know about that gun. And if you let them find it without you telling them, it's going to be way worse for you. So, yeah, I mean, real with you, what's going on the ground, it does work in the officer's favor, especially if there was a bad, especially if there was an accidental discharge of his gun that led to him being shot, which is looking like the case. Actually. It's not that, oh no, the ICE officer just decided to shoot him for no reason. No, they heard a shot, and if you actually watch the video, after that shot rung off, that didn't come from many of the ICE officers, they start shooting him. So nobody's lying about what's on the ground. What I'm mad about is that they came out and tried to paint these guys as domestic terrorists. But what went down on the ground, no, they're not lying about that. But they are lying about trying to, I'm not saying lying, but they are misinformed by trying to call these guys domestic terrorists. Stephen Miller was definitely out there when he said, oh, he's an assassin. I mean, let's be honest. Like, we both know that's BS. But what's happening on the ground there is the truth. These people are obstructing ICE officers, and they are putting themselves in danger. So that's not what's being lied about.
And ironically, if he wasn't armed, I think he would get less right-wing support. And that is a deep irony, but I'll take it because right now it's become obvious.
Nah, I'm gonna be real with you. He did basically assault him. When he put that hand back on the officer, when he got in the way of that officer and put his hand back and try to get in the way of him, yes, that's insulting an officer. Like, I know he was trying to help that old lady up, but he got in the way of a law enforcement scene, basically bumping him, trying to get in the way of him, holding him back. That's assaulting an officer. I mean, you remember January 6th where you locked up a guy just from being bumped into an officer? Yeah, a January 6th was locked up for bumping into an officer, and you called that assaulting an officer. You might want to look that up before you talk.
Whole country, they're taking away our First Amendment rights, our Second Amendment rights, and they're trying to set up a police state. And a police state isn't going to care if you're left or right wing.
Okay, Clay Travis, your response to that?
Well, first of all, I think you have to begin with how did we get here? And the answer is Joe Biden let in 10 million illegal immigrants with a wide open southern border for basically 4 years of his presidency. And Trump shut down the southern border within a month with the stroke of a couple of executive orders. And so the question becomes, if there are, and according to Tom Homan, who I think is right, but if there are, by Tom Homan's count, 20 million illegal immigrants in the country now, and 10 million of those illegal immigrants came in with Joe Biden's imprimatur, basically allowing him in during that 4 years. What do you do to move them out of this country, right? And so that is the essence of the challenge. Okay, initially, you start with people who are engaged in violent acts. And then from there, you aggressively move to try to get more of these people out. And then I think we can go into the specifics of analyzing the shooting and how it's going to play out going forward and compare it with Renee Good.
Today's show is sponsored by Oxford Natural, makers of the Optimum Day and Optimum Night all-natural supplements. Thousands of Brits and Americans and watch their full stories and with the code PEEL on the conservative right, who are beginning to pivot away from where they may have initially been on this. The more angles you look at this, the more unequivocal it becomes. No one is honestly now suggesting this guy was brandishing a weapon, trying to attack or assault. There were 8 guys all over him. And then you see one of them reach down, take his legally owned firearm from his side, from his waist, take it away, and it's a second later that they kill him. I mean,
yeah, Piers, did you not hear that there was a shot that went off and no officer knew where the shot came from? So when that shot went off, that's when officers start firing on them. And here's what everybody's starting to come to the conclusion that the shot came from the officer who removed the Alex Petty's gun, and his gun, what was it? I think it was a P320, SIG. And these guns are known for having a bad, not even a bad trigger on it, but it's known for misfiring. You can pretty much knock it on the back, it'll fire. You can squeeze it on the front, it will fire. So, you know what, actually, I think it's best I just show you the video of how these guns operate. Well, the gun, how Alex Petty's gun might have been like a faulty model, or might have had what's they call it might have been a gun that needs to be recalled. Let's just say it like that. Because, those guns are known to misfire. But let's get over here to this gun expert on it.
Will it go off again? Will it release? I'll put some input into the slide somewhere. Will it go off again? Will it release? Let's see. That's 3 in a row. Let me take the screw out. Number 4. Let's try it again. Let me show you. Fully functioning striker safety. All right. Should we do it with the magazine again? Let's put the magazine back in, and then we'll try the last one with the magazine out. Handy dandy trigger input tool. We are going to try to, dang, sorry about that. I'm trying to get over a sinus thing and a cough. We're going to try to simulate right, here we go. Again, we are roughly, as we saw on the tabletop, I'm guessing we're roughly 1 millimeter to less than 1 millimeter of engagement on that trigger. And let's see if we can get it to go off again. That was 4.
So, yeah. And like I said, we'll find out from the body cams, but I'm almost sure. I can guarantee it. I can almost guarantee it that, yeah, it's most likely the gun that they took off Petty had an accidental discharge, and they thought it was coming either from around them or from him, and that's why they opened fired on him. And if that's the case, then, I mean, sadly, well, for Dems, well, they'll be getting, well, I mean, you could say getting away with it. I like to call this a lawful shot. It was reasonable. Due to their perception of them thinking that they were about to be fired on, they opened fire on Alex because, well, he was the guy that said they had a gun on them. See, they heard a shot. They know that none of them shot, so they opened fire on him.
Not be right.
Look, I think we're going to figure out more details on this. It looks to me like maybe his weapon discharged. That is the weapon that they.
Oh yeah, and if you don't know that the body cams are about to come out, I mean, come on, bro. Like, do better, bro. Do better. Flaming, you got to do better than that, bro. You actually got to do your research on this stuff. But shout out to Tove, though. Appreciate the support, sis. She says in Ohio. Yeah, in Ohio, that's true. Legally, we don't have to. But let me go ahead and pull that up again. There it is. In Ohio, legally, we don't have to tell the Leos if we are carrying. However, many smart carriers will inform Leos that, yes, we are armed for, my safety and theirs. It's called common courtesy. And if you're going to walk up to a law enforcement officer, you show the common courtesy, being, hey, look, I'm armed. I'm just trying to help this lady up. He could have did that. He could have been a responsible person to say, look, bro, I got this on me. I'm armed. I got my license on me, but I'm just here to help this lady up. And is either the ICE officer going to be back the fuck up, or he's going to be like, all right, go ahead. That's the only two things that could have happened if he went about it the right way. But instead, he literally got in the ICE officer's way, literally stepped in front of him, stepped right in front of him to get in the way of him and that lady. That was the problem right there. And that's why it can be seen as assault, because, I mean, just like that January 6th that bumped into an officer that y'all hit with assault. Yeah, if you intentionally get in the way of an officer and put your hand out him to, basically touch him and keep him away, yeah, that's assaulting and resisting arrest at the same time. Because after that, yeah, he was getting arrested. He was resisting. Now, you could say, well, I'll be reasonable. You could say, well, he was pepper sprayed and he was disoriented and all that good stuff. And yeah, you're right. You're right. Most likely that probably was the case. But let's not sit here and pretend like, yo, you probably should stop resisting and not be trying to grab on to everything and actually be listening to these orders, because that's what made it worse. Him trying to grab onto the lady. He was trying to stand up while the officers were keeping him down. That was also one of the problems, too. That made things a whole lot worse for him.
But from him, discharged. And then there was a panic and a thought that a gunshot had been fired and the reaction occurred. That's my analysis of it right now. I think there should be an investigation. If it's determined that he behaved in a way that was outside the law, then this individual should be charged. And again,
the only guy that probably should be charged was the guy hitting him with the pepper spray can. Yeah, that guy was tripping.
I think the real issue here, big picture, again, is how do you get the 10 million that Biden let out? But also,
and shout out to Monty, said he wasn't legally carrying. He didn't have his license with him. with him and was in commission of a crime. I mean, That's also true. Like, look. Now, actually, no, Monty, like, here's the thing. He wasn't legally carrying because he didn't have his license on him. That's what got him screwed. Like, the fact that he didn't have his license on him and he was carrying, and he didn't also let the officer know that he was carrying. Those are all things that is not going to work in his favor when it comes down to how they investigate this. Like, I'm just going to keep it real with you.
These individuals are going and intentionally obstructing these ICE agents from being able to do their jobs. And this, I believe, is the intent. They want a violent act, whether it's Renee Good, whether it's this individual. There is a desire.
But they don't want to get shot, though, do they? They don't want to get yeah, but Clay, they don't want to get shot.
If you go back and remember, Pierce, the Axios story that came out, I believe it was in July, said that Democrats were instructing people that they did need to have a shooting because politically they saw it as beneficial. In other words, a consequence of trying to get in front of this. And I will just say, look, I am a First and a Second Amendment guy. If there's a difference between what you can legally do and what you should intelligently do. If I were giving advice to anybody who is going out to protest ICE right now, I would say, don't go armed. I think if this guy had not had the weapon that he did, he would have been arrested. He would still be alive. I think there was a panic brought on by the gun being there. And so I think you have to analyze this situation in general. If my own kids were going to protest, Pierce, I would say, okay, do not take any weapons at all. You might legally have the right to do it, but I would tell them that is not a smart thing to do. And certainly,
yeah, but you know what? Again,
arrest.
Okay, but Clay, before I move to the other two panelists, again, I am struck by an irony here because Renee Good wasn't armed, and it didn't save her, right? And the bottom line is, I thought the position on the conservative right, which is mainly supportive of the NRA, for example, is that actually the answer, say, to school shootings is that everyone should have guns at schools, right, to stop this happening. That would stop it happening. If you take that logic, then after 2 shootings, 2 people being shot dead by ICE agents, wouldn't the logical thing be to do to take a gun, if you're legally allowed to have one, to protect yourself against the same thing happening to you? In other words, is the argument not being put forward here by people on the right who love guns? I'm not going to get into that debate again. Litigated that years ago. We've moved on. It's your country, your debate, your guns. However, it does seem hypocritical to me. It's like this is the completely opposite advice that you would normally give to a situation which keeps recurring where people are being shot. The normal advice is you should, if you're allowed to carry a gun, take it to defend yourself.
My argument has been my kids all go to schools with armed security. I want trained security with armed guns at every one of my kids' schools, Pierce. That's different than someone going to protest and carrying a gun to me quite significantly. Because again, if you're going to get arrested potentially, or you're going to get involved with ICE agents, I don't think that the position should be, well, you should take a gun and get into a shootout with them. You shouldn't take up arms against lawful citizens in the country who are executing their lawful jobs.
So Clay, you're against
I'm just
Kyle
saying,
Rittenhouse?
For my kids' school, I want armed security. If my kids were going to protest on any issue under the sun and they were going there, I would tell them I would not advise them to take a gun. There's a difference between what you're legally allowed to do and what I would advise as a parent.
So you were against Kyle Rittenhouse. I got it.
I would not.
Yeah,
I said at the time. I said at the time, I didn't
Yeah,
think it was smart for Kyle Rittenhouse to take a gun to the middle of that crazy riot. I would have advised against my kids doing it. Once he was there, I think the jury reached the right verdict in that case.
Okay, let me bring in James Carville. James, it seems to me this is heading to a very dark place in America. You've got these ICE agents who, for their own self-protection, because they're getting doxxed, they're getting identified, they're getting targeted and so on. They're wearing masks. They're out there. A lot of them apparently do not have proper crowd control training. They're getting into regular skirmishes now with protesters, which are turning deadly. And I think the American people are increasingly appalled by this, which is why you're seeing Donald Trump reigning back in this particular incident in a way we haven't seen him before. But this is getting tinderbox stuff, isn't it?
Well, first of all, a fabulous Republican economist, I think his name was Herb Stein, said that which can't continue won't. this is not going to continue. By the way, if I were a Republican, I would be reminded of the sign on the entrance of Dante's Inferno, abandon all hope. You're going to get beat so bad in November, you have no idea. The Democrats are going to pick up 6 or 7 Senate seats.
I mean, hold on, bro. You don't think that, well, I don't see, he might have a point, but it's kind of crazy, though, that Dems, they can act with impunity because their base never holds them accountable. Like the fact that, I mean, let's be honest, the protests got out of control because of the lack of leadership in Minnesota, but Jacob Fry most likely will be reelected or replaced with another Democrat. Tim Walz allowed these protests to get out of hand and for a whole bunch of fraud to go down, but guarantee you that they will still elect the Democrat. It's like, yeah, I'll be honest with you. It does seem like, bro, when you're a Democrat, you got this radicalized base. It's like you can do no wrong. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll wait to maybe we'll have a Democrat president again, and we'll see them screw that up, and we'll take back the House and those 2 years in. We will see. But sadly, in this predicament right now, I see where he's going with it. Because, yeah, I'll be real with you. Donald Trump, once again, is only focusing on domestic policy. He is focusing a little bit on making things more affordable, like, trying to cut interest rates and all that, cap interest rate at 10%. He scrapped the 50-year loan BS. I mean, I'm glad he did that. Gas prices are still going down. Prices are still falling. Not as fast as we want them to fall, but he's doing a good job on that. Overall, things are a little bit more affordable than they were under Biden, but people are still suffering from this unaffordability crisis due to the rapid increasing of pricing under Biden. So we still got a lot to do. I mean, we lost $3,000 of buying power, and we probably only got about $1,500 of it back. Wishful thinking, maybe $1,800.
The idea that somebody exercising poor judgment, which I'm sure I do 10 times a day, is the excuse of someone to shoot me is utterly ludicrous. So that people make mistakes all the time. They park in no parking zones. They exceed speed limits. They might drink too much. None of this suggests that you ought to be out shooting people. And honestly, what you have there is a bunch of undertrained, not particularly qualified people.
No. They're trained. They're heavily trained for what they're supposed to do. So these are ex-veterans. These are, well, not ex-veterans, but they're veterans and ex-law enforcement. So, bro, show them some respect, because you guys are the main ones talking about respecting our veterans and law enforcement. But look what you guys are doing with ICE. These are ex-law enforcement and veterans are mostly comprised of ICE. Well, was what ICE is mostly comprised of. So you saying that is honestly a bit disrespectful. And, bro, but there's a bit of truth. There's a bit of truth to what he's saying. The truth to what he's saying is that they're not trained in providing crowd control. That's why they're supposed to work with local law enforcement. And if local law enforcement can't do anything or can't help, then that's where they bring in the National Guard. That has not been done. So what he says by untrained means, oh, well, they're untrained law enforcement and all this good stuff. And that's not true. What they're untrained to do is be crowd control. They're not supposed to be controlling the crowds like they're doing right now. I mean, Border Patrol is not supposed to be crowd control. They're not trained to do that. But they're out there doing it because, well, Jacob Fry won't bring out the local police, and Tim Walz won't bring out the National Guard. But y'all dare call them untrained for what? Crowd control? Of course, that's what they're supposed to be doing. That's what Minnesota politicians are supposed to be providing, but they're not. So you can't call ICE untrained for not being able to do crowd control, because that's what the local law enforcement was supposed to do. And if they can't do that, then it's up to Tim Walz to bring in the National Guard. And if he can't do that, then I'm sorry, but this is on them then.
With badges and guns, and this is going to be the result of it. The American people don't like it overwhelmingly. Stand by, sit still, and get the crap beat out of you, because that's what's going to happen.
Rob O'Neill, it seems to me, we've discussed this a lot on the show with various panels. It seems to me most Americans fundamentally agree with what Donald Trump has done on the southern border. They realized it was particularly porous under Joe Biden, that millions came in illegally into the United States. That was unsustainable. And they think it's great that the border's been effectively closed. I also think there's no argument with most Americans about identifying and deporting people who are in the country illegally who then commit other crimes. The flashpoint is on these ICE agents going into cities and going after people who perhaps came in, with their parents, or perhaps came in 10 years ago and built families in America, who are law abiding, committed no other crimes, who pay their taxes, who contribute to society, who are the bedrock in many ways of the ideology of the United States of America. And that is where this administration, it seems to me, is overreaching and getting into serious trouble. Then you add this series of incidents now involving people being shot dead as they protest against that. And
shout out to Juicebox, because I actually went in and looked up what you said, and it says, yes, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has mobilized the Minnesota National Guard in January 2026, basically this month, to assist local law enforcement during protests in Minneapolis area following a fatal accident. As of January 24, 2026, the Guard was activated to support the Minnesota State Patrol and assist at federal buildings. Yeah, it doesn't say they're doing crowd control, man. Actually, they were supposed to be doing to help out with the protests, but they're supporting the Minnesota State Patrol and assisting at federal buildings. So they're actually helping to protect federal buildings, not actually help to assist with the protests.
Got this unholy mess we're in. What do you make?
So, like I said, once again, crowd control is not being provided, and they're busy protecting federal buildings instead of using the National Guard to provide crowd control. Tough, though.
There's a lot to unpack, and it would help both sides if they were honest with each other and not just trying to get political points proven. As a registered independent, I'm absolutely appalled.
No, hold on. It actually says the purpose right here, too. The purpose, the Guard was activated to assist with traffic control, protest public safety, and manage protests, not specifically to deploy on city streets for combat-style operations, according to early reports. But as of now, they are just maintaining the protection of federal buildings and assisting Minnesota State Patrol in doing such tasks. Tough. Yeah, they're coordinated deploying to recent local official offices in Minnesota. So no, they're not providing any type of crowd control for the protesters. They're mainly at these federal buildings providing protection.
That law enforcement is killing Americans on American soil at any time. And as someone who's been in close...
I mean, you know what? I'll give you that, juice box. It is a good thing. At least they're protecting the federal buildings. I mean, they're doing something, just not what we would hope for them to do. But they should be reorganized to provide crowd control for these protesters. I mean, because you're right, they are out there, but they're not being utilized for, what's important. And what's important is the safety of these protesters. I don't care if I disagree with them politically. I care for their safety. And right now, that is not the top priority of Tim Walz. Apparently, it's just to protect, I guess his cronies, because he's out here protecting the federal buildings instead of his constituents with the National Guard.
So close. Armed combat,
like state policemen. I mean, they could be out there, but instead they're protecting federal buildings
with everyone from Chechens to Afghans to Iraqis to Syrians to our friends in Somalia. No gunfight is the same. And when I walk down the streets of New York, I see people crossing the street without the right of way. Some of them get hit and killed. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. You should be armed wherever you go. And it doesn't matter how many full magazines you have. When you introduce yourself into an ongoing arrest and you're armed, you're just escalating the force. Does the person who got killed by a bus because they weren't looking deserve it? No. Does this guy deserve it? No. You shouldn't. It shouldn't have to happen. But we're not being.
No, it shouldn't have to happen. Like I said, in my honest belief, when they took the gun off him, there was an accidental discharge of his gun because his gun model is known to have that fault with it. And I mean, let's be real. If that happens, I'm pretty sure that all the ICE officers are going to think that it either came from him or somebody shooting at them. They assumed that it was him and just started opening fire. It's just the way it went down. And shout out to my man, Mr. Paramedic. He says, old man has to take a nap, LMAO. Not facts. Like, bro, need to chill out.
Being honest, it's like the left is now saying, yeah, they're just coming in and separating children from their families. There should be a way, and I think law-abiding citizens should have a different route. But there are criminals they're going after, and the left won't even admit it. A lot of people in Minnesota voted for this, but the problem in some of the parts of Minnesota is they've infiltrated so many illegal voters. Look at the front. And look, again, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong and prove it, and I'll admit it. But there's a lot of bad stuff going on right now, and then it's distracting on both. And look at the law. No one's considering the gun was introduced. There's law enforcement officers right there. They're feeling so much stress right now because of the paid activists that are all over them, screaming, blowing whistles, shooting projectiles, everything at them. They think about their family too. They think about previous events. They think about previous shootings, all the stuff, and they're like, up to include, I don't want to shoot this guy. When it happens, it happens. We can easily minimize the amount of stuff going on. No shooting is the same. I killed a dude that was driving a car at me in 2012, different place. That's a big, heavy weapon. She was armed too.
Here we go again.
Before the cameras, before the ceremony, before history is made, every detail is chosen. From
Pierce, they got you. I'm sorry, but the Melody movie.
January 30. So, Rob, when you've watched this video, as everybody has multiple times from multiple angles, do you see?
I would ask Pierce, like, bro, how much they pay you for that? I just got to know how much they pay you to feature that movie, to promote it. Just let me know.
Anything in there which would justify shooting that guy dead?
Well, I have the comfort of watching after the fact, and I'm someone who's been involved with stuff with Monday Morning. They certainly come after me and tell me that it should have gone a different way. Would I have shot him from here 24 hours later? No. At the time, I don't know. I have been in spots where I have let people go that were armed that I could have killed that I didn't. I feel good about it. I've killed dudes that I often wonder, should I have? This is not all broad brush stroke. A human life was ended by a law enforcement agent. We should look at it by the incident by incident, not a broad brush stroke. And I mean, everything from the ICE guys aren't out there to kill people. They're not masked because they're renegades. They don't want to get doxxed. They have families. I have families. I know what getting doxxed is like. There's so much going on here. It's not just left versus right. Let's all shoot each other. I'm pretty sure on this panel, I'm the only one who's actually killed people really, really close. And I think I have an idea of knowing what I'm talking about with lethality. And I don't like it. I'm anti-war, actually. But I mean, as long as we're not going to convince each other the way we're doing it, and if we're not being honest, it's never going to happen anyway. Be honest with case by case, line by line, like we should be doing in Congress. But instead we get here and we yell at each other about he should have been armed. He should have had as many bullets as he wants. That's his right. Should he have been killed? I don't know. I wasn't there.
Well, Cenk Uygur, let me ask you the question I didn't think I'd ever ask you. Cenk, hang on one sec. Cenk, I want to ask you the question I never thought I'd ever ask you. Have you ever killed anyone?
No, not to my knowledge.
Hey, Cenk,
you've got to look at the
heart attacks. I don't know.
It's always the quiet ones. It's interesting, Cenk, because we've seen President Clinton, Bill Clinton, and we've seen Barack Obama, another former president, both come out with pretty strong denunciations of this. What would be interesting?
Look, man, the only thing Cenk is killing is a buffet, okay? That's the only thing he killing. The only thing he killing is a 30-ounce steak, all right?
Would be if George W. Bush was to come out and add his name to this to make it more of a bipartisan response, because this cannot go on. The rest of the world, I can tell you, over here in the UK, people are looking on completely aghast that this is happening repeatedly.
Yeah.
And no one can quite understand why those who have the power to cool things down aren't doing that. Now, Tom Homan has been sent down there tonight. We know there's a White House press briefing going on in the next hour or so, which may add some more clarity too. But what should happen here? What do you think is the obvious thing to do? To have ICE completely remove themselves from Minneapolis? But then it begs the question, well, where do they go next? Should they continue their work? Is not a lot of what ICE is doing, because I believe it probably is not a lot of what they're doing valid? If they are actually catching and deporting genuinely bad criminals who are in the country illegally anyway, then they should be allowed to do their job, shouldn't they?
Yeah. So let me build on what James said. So look, at this point, the polling is in even before this Alex Pretty shooting, and this one is going to put it way, way over the top. So already over 60% of Americans thought ICE was going too far before the shooting. Over 70% of independents thought that. And now the fact that he was armed and was, exercising his Second Amendment rights just by having a gun, and he seemed to have been killed because he had a gun.
All right, guys, I'm out of time on this one. And don't worry, guys, I will be back. But your boy got to work. So I'll catch you guys on the next one, guys. This is S.E.T with S.E.T Media. Appreciate the support, guys. Make sure you guys like the video on the way out if you haven't already, and especially if you're on Rumble. And if you haven't already, man, make sure you follow me on Rumble, man. Right now, YouTube got your boy under the shadow ban. So if you want to make sure that you get the notifications, go ahead and follow me on Rumble, guys, and turn on your notifications on your phone as well. But all right, guys, I'll catch you guys on the next one. And you know what? I'm gonna save this one. I'm gonna go ahead and bring up like Monty and Gaming probably to, chop this up with me. But all right, guys, appreciate the support. Peace.
It's only in places like Minneapolis where you're seeing civilians being shot by ICE officers. You're not seeing this sort of thing in places like Florida. Because in Minneapolis, you have a radicalized population of Disney-brained adults who think that they're in a movie. They literally think they're like superheroes resisting tyranny in a movie. So they show up to protest, armed, and intentionally intervene and agitate federal law enforcement activities. And it's like, these people think that this is what the Second Amendment's for. It's for resisting tyranny. You are not resisting tyranny by resisting the enforcement of federal law that people voted for, by the way. Trump ran on enforcing our immigration laws. Just because your radicalized population in Minneapolis didn't vote for those laws doesn't mean that they cease to be federal law. They should still be enforced, and interfering with the enforcement of those laws is literally resisting the will of the American people. You are not the hero you think you are. You're a radicalized Disney-brained adult who thinks that you're the superhero in a movie when in actuality you've just been brainwashed to fight against your own interests.